I know it's early, and we're going to talk about reaching your profit goals. This is the thing that I'm the most passionate about talking about. This is how I got started teaching, making classes, was when I realized that I was in a room of professional floral designers who were super talented and had paid like $2,500 to come to this workshop, but they weren't really sure how to price. And it's really, really important that we know how to price, we know how to apply our markups, but more than that, we need to know how to make a profit. I'm gonna wait and see, did it click? No. I'll try again. No. So your creativity and your profitability are equally important to your success. For people who've been doing this a while, you know that in your bones, right? Because they support each other. When you're more profitable, you can be more creative. When you're more creative, you can sell your work for more and be more profitable. But the only way to maximize your income, the amount of money you can pay yourself, the amount of money you can pay your team, is to maximize your profit margin. So these are what I call like the 4 pillars, the 4 floralpreneur fundamentals. These are what keep your business level, right? This is the foundation of your business. So we all start with our floristry skills and design knowledge. I wrote a book, it's called Falling into Flowers, and the reason I named it that is because so many florists that I talked to, it's almost like they were walking down the street and they just like fell in a hole and realized they're a florist now. They just are like, oh, right? They had a friend who was getting married and all of a sudden they did the flowers, and then somebody else wanted flowers, and then somebody else, and now they're in a business. So it starts like the momentum, right? It's like a snowball going downhill, and you never have chance to figure out what your profit margin should be, right? Bottom line is, floristry skills are important, right? It's how we know whether we should put something in a bouquet or not because it's gonna wilt in 2 days. Really, really important that we keep our flowers alive, that we have good design skills. But that's just one piece of it. Then we have to know how to price for profit. Again, it's not enough to just apply markups. That's only one part of your formula. Have to turn a profit to stay in business. Next, we have to know how to close sales with customers, right? You need to know how to talk to somebody when you're selling a funeral piece, or selling a wedding, or selling anything out of your cooler. How do we upgrade them? How do we get them to buy a little bit more? How do we get them to yes? And then finally, it's about building your brand reputation. This is when people choose you for you. Your reputation precedes you. You're the best florist. She's so busy with weddings. She's the one to go to. They're the best florist in town. What happens when we have all 4 of these fundamentals firing at once? That's when your business is like doing what it needs to do. And what happens is, when we're really good with our brand position, it's easier to make sales. It's easier to make profit and charge a little bit more. And then it's easier to be more creative with your floral design skills because you have more options. And then you just rinse and repeat and do that over and over again. But the truth is, if you want to pay yourself more, raising your prices isn't the only way to do that. You got to just remember my flower math motto: doesn't matter what you charge if you overbuy. I don't know if people were here to see Derek's conversation yesterday about pricing and profitability, but very, very, very similar to what I'm talking about in terms of that overbuying is what's going to get you every time. So I'm a really, really small business. I'm a micro business. I work from home, home studio. The only way I was able to grow my business is by keeping as much of my profit as possible. And that's what I want to encourage you to do too. When you're not maximizing that profit margin, when you're overbuying, giving away stems, think of it like throwing money down the drain. Extras cost you money. I learned this from the person I always refer to as my best worst boss. because he was the worst, but he did teach me about pricing. So I just want you to really take note of this. Every additional stem is that money down the drain. Whether it's you or your employees adding that extra stem, it starts to add up quickly. Let me show you what I mean. So I know it's early for math, but we got this. You have one designer, right? Putting one extra flower in at $1.80 wholesale. So I know everyone's got different wholesale prices. Maybe that's a snapdragon, maybe it's a rose. Let's say you have 15 arrangements in that wedding. Each one gets only one extra flower. That's $27 wholesale out of your pocket. You would have marked that up though, maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times. That's $81 that you would have charged, or $108 maybe. So now you've lost profit of $54, maybe even $81. One rose, 15 centerpieces, one time. What if you do 30 events? Or what if you have 15 arrangements that go out of your shop over the course of 30 days, and each one has this one extra flower? It's $810. I don't know about you, I think $810 is kind of a lot of money, right? Like if I lost $810, or if somebody scammed me out of $810, I'd be kind of like, wow, that was a lot of money. But again, that's just what's out of your pocket. The profit that you lost would have been $16.20, maybe even $24.30, depending on what your markup is. This is why it matters. Don't give money away. It's your money that you're giving away, all right? Even my best, worst boss taught me that, okay? So this is why you want to follow proven formulas. Follow formulas that you follow in your shop. I have a course called Flower Math if you need help with any of this. You want to create profitable recipes. Don't reinvent the wheel all the time. You know what you need to make a $75 arrangement, or a $125 arrangement, or a $250 bridal bouquet. And then set your profit goal, not a spending goal. Following proven pricing formulas. So this is really important because we don't want to just shortcut. So many times, especially if you've been in business for a long time, it's easy to just have a shortcut. Oh, we just do a 5 times markup. Or, oh, we just do a 4 times markup. That includes our design fee. But I want you to really understand the pieces of what goes in to pricing. What goes into every single design that you make? What really goes into it from you? First of all, we've got our flower markup. We got to mark up those flowers. You've got a supply markup. Supplies aren't free. You got a design fee for your time, your talent, your skill. You invested in coming here, which means that now you charge a design fee because your customer doesn't know what you know. You're going to deliver that arrangement. Maybe it gets picked up, but most of the time it's going to get delivered. You've got admin time. Whether it's a wedding, whether it's a funeral, whether it's a daily order in your shop, whether you're picking up the phone and taking the order, whether you're ripping the card, right? You're ripping those little perforated edges and stuffing that card in the envelope. That's time. That's time. And then, of course, the cleanup, right? We've got to clean it up. All of these things are what go in to the pieces of your pricing pie. Flowers times your markup. 3 or 4 times. You want to do more, God bless you. Design fee. I highly suggest if you are not charging at least 30% for your design fee, to raise it. 30 to 40% is what I suggest. It's what I teach in my Flower Math course. And I'll tell you why. I've never worked at a shop that charged less than 32% for their design fee. Yet in the interwebs on Facebook, people always talk about this 20% design fee. I don't know where it came from. I've never in my life, in a real life setting, seen anybody charged only 20% and be profitable. 30 to 40% is what I suggest. Then you've got your containers, your supplies. They get a markup too. I suggest 2 to 2.5 times. Some people do 3. God bless you. Then you got your delivery time, your setup time. What goes into that? You've got vehicles, you've got insurance, right? You've got people, time, complexity. Sometimes you have to get on a ladder. Then you've got your breakdown, your removal, your cleanup. And of course, like I said, that admin time, the time you spend writing the proposal. Where is that in this $250 bridal bouquet, right? Where is that? You've got meetings, the time you spend ordering, the time you spend making your recipes. Yeah? On retail, thanks for asking that. Yeah, always on retail. So we mark up the flowers, then we apply our design fee, then we apply our marked up container. Great question. Here's why it's important. Pricing formulas are the building blocks of your profitability, right? So if you're charging 3, 4, 5 times, some people are like, I charge 5 times. Hey, good for you, honey. What's your profit margin? Because that's what matters. It's just not enough. It's only one side of the formula. The buying is where the rubber meets the road. So if you're not charging that design fee, or if it's too little, let's fix it, because you're missing a portion of your profit. And I want to emphasize this. I worked at flower shops. They weren't, many, many years ago, okay? This is not some like inflated design fee I'm suggesting. If 24 years ago, an everyday shop was charging 32% for their design fee, you can charge it now. These aren't wedding prices. All right. Again, this is where the rubber meets the road. It's in the recipe. It's going to save you time and money in the long term. And if anybody's resistant to recipes, I'd like to really, I'm trying to think of something nice to say, but I want to shake you. So you want to create these profitable recipes because it helps you avoid overbuying. If you don't have a recipe, you don't know how many stems you need. Also, I'll tell you this from experience just the other day. I came in on Thursday. I could kind of do whatever I wanted. Do you know how long it took me to make a boutonniere when I could do whatever I wanted, no restrictions, right? It's so silly. But it helps you save time because it gives you direction. So don't reinvent the wheel on every single design or every single event. Duplicate your profitable recipes. The easiest way to do this is to just think about what are the most frequently used flowers in your shop or in your events. You could just write them down. What are your top 7 or 10 flowers? What focal flower do you use the most, right? Do you use roses? Do you use hydrangea? What kind of fillers do you use the most? What are your 2 or 3 most popular greens that you use? These are the basis for your recipes. If you have these pieces in your shop, you can make anything. Maybe you can't make that exact FTD 123 thing, but you could make something that is a similar price, maybe even prettier than what they had imagined, okay? If you have those basic pieces. I picked these 3 bouquet photos because they're different, but they're the same, okay? We've got delphinium in them. We've got ranunculus. Instead of ranunculus, I've got scabiosa in the middle. Oh, look, who's using cremones instead of a fancy dahlia because my bride didn't have a budget for them, right? We're going for shape, color. How do you replace, substitute, make a cheaper substitute? If they can't afford dahlias, that doesn't mean your profit margin goes down. It means they get a mum. The number one reason why it's important is because this is how you stop overspending. This is how you stop ending up with, we had 20 extra roses on this event. That's a lot of money. These are the ingredient lists. It helps you determine what to order. And even more importantly, it helps you know when the arrangement is done, when it's filled to value. Has anybody ever made an arrangement and then looked at it and said, does this look like $95? Right? I do it too. But I don't not know how to get the answer. I add it up. And then I go, it is $95. Or, oh no, I actually have $5 more I can play with here. Recipes create consistency. Again, this was something that Derek talked about yesterday. I had to watch his thing. I wanted to make sure he wasn't going to make me look stupid, that we say different things. And we don't, which is nice. Here's what it comes down to. You don't want to, I'm going to say what he said yesterday. You order something on Monday and it's one size for $75. You order it on Friday and it's bigger, and you felt ripped off on Monday. I thought he put that perfectly, so I'm stealing it from him. That's what I mean about consistency. We don't want it to be, well, every time I come in there, I don't know how big that arrangement's going to be. Or this person, a $55 arrangement looks like this, but when the owner makes it, a $55 arrangement looks like this. Owners are often the biggest offender. Thank you for laughing. But again, if you don't have extra flowers, you have money in the bank. That's what it comes down to. It's about keeping more of the money you're already making. You want to have consistency with profit margin, but also with what your customers come to expect from you. What I've come to learn over 10 and a half years of teaching pricing to florists, the reason some florists don't follow recipes is because they think it's going to get in the way of creativity, right? Because I'm an artist. Looking at you. I'm an artist. Just on the artist part, not the profit part. And so I need my palette, right? I need to be able to do all the things. But you can be really creative, just like a chef in a kitchen, right? The chef doesn't go, give me all the ingredients to make anything. They need some kind of direction. What are we trying to get? What's the general flavor? Is it Italian? Is it Chinese? We need completely different ingredients based on what kind of food we're making, right? Stephanie, you had a question. Oh, I would do a recipe for anything. I mean, if I have a daily, which I very rarely do, you would have to call me and I would have to pick up the phone, and that would be very rare. But if that happened, which it has happened, what I'm gonna do is absolutely just fill it to value. So maybe I'm going to do a little bit of math to figure out like what I can buy, and then, do my very best to not overbuy, because I can't really just fill one arrangement, which is why I mostly do weddings. But yes, I make it for every single thing gets a recipe. And again, it doesn't necessarily need to be like, it's all written down. It just means I'm adding up the stems. I'm making sure that it's to value, not undervalue, because that's the other thing. I'm not here to like screw over my customers and rip them off because my profit margin matters more than their happiness. Because if they're not happy, what happens? That fourth pillar of the floralpreneur fundamentals, brand reputation, doesn't get elevated. The customer has to love it. So there's this balance. Profitable, but still pretty. I want to highly encourage you, just like my best worst boss, to educate your employees on pricing. This is another thing I've learned over the last 10 and a half years of teaching flower math. I've had people take my flower math course and they're like, I worked at a flower shop for 20 years and no one ever told me how to do this. What? I was in this flower shop for a minute when he showed me the pricing cheat sheets and here's how you, right? Do you guys still have this in your shop? Here's the cost of the container, the cost of the arrangement, and where the two meet. That's how much you have in retail flowers, right? So you go to the cooler knowing I can pick out $25 or $55. But it's not a free-for-all. They shouldn't be doing their own math on everything. I will admit I did do that when I was in the shop, but I was younger then. Don't leave them in the dark. Don't be the florist where your employee's been there 20 years and goes, no one ever talked to me about how to do this. Explain why it matters to your bottom line. I'll tell you this. I became very price-oriented, as you may tell, from just that little conversation about this money going out the door if we overfill. This is how we price. It's really, really important. Now, the owner wasn't paying attention to that, but I was. And the most important thing here is really about setting your profit goal, not a spending goal. So many people go to the wholesaler saying, I can spend 30% of this wedding order. I've got 30% in my budget. But that's really not what we want to do. The amount of money you spend at your wholesaler is going to impact your profit margin every time. Can I get a collective no duh? No duh, right? So this is why it matters every single time. You want to set that profit goal to avoid overbuying. So I always ask, do you calculate your profit margins? And should you? Yes, absolutely. So a lot of times what happens is, whether you have a shop or you're just a home studio florist like myself, well, I made some money, so I obviously turned a profit, right? That can't be that bad. But it's so important to really embrace the idea that if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. And the numbers are really here to help you and guide you so you can correct, right? This isn't like a threatening, oh, I don't want to know. We want to know. Facts are here to help us, right? The facts are our friends. So these are the 3 easy steps to calculate your profit margin. All you're going to do is you add up the cost of what you bought, the flowers and supplies. You take your total sale, you subtract what you bought, and you're going to get your profit. It's X in this little formula. X divided by the total sale is going to give you your profit margin. I suggest doing this on every wedding, an event that you do. Do it on weekly sales in your shop. This is a real wedding that I did, so I like to do it in real numbers. Total sale was $4,643. I spent $990 on flowers and supplies. My sale minus my COGS gives me a profit of $3,653. Now this is of course before all of my other expenses. I haven't paid my salary because I'm on my payroll, right? See why it matters that this number has to be as high as possible. So now I divide my profit by the sale. Or as I like to say it, the small number divided by the big number, okay? And that's going to give you a decimal point. That decimal point is a percentage, and it's your profit margin. So on this wedding, I made a 78% profit margin. This is why we want to track. We want to track those margins. 70% is the floor that I suggest for your profit margin on weddings, on the orders that go out of the shop. Simply following a 3 times markup, adding a design fee, charging for your supplies is going to get you there if you don't overbuy. And the reason why it's so important to track it, do it on one event, do it on 3 events, do it on individual weeks in your shop. You can't improve what you don't measure. So when I see, oh, I made 70% on this event, great. Could I have made more? Oh, I made 74% this week. Okay, that's good. I have one of my flower math students she's in San Francisco, so very different market than me in Vermont. She had an 84% profit margin last year, right? Because she didn't overbuy. But she knows it from the top of her head because she's tracking it. And it starts to become fun. Again, the numbers are your friends, especially when they say nice things about you. So how are you going to increase your income and improve those margins if you don't track them? So again, this is why florists need to set the profit goal. Minimum 70%, that's the floor, not that spending goal. Remember my flower math motto, please, please, please. Doesn't matter what you charge if you overbuy. This is what it all comes down to. Because if you charge a 5 times markup, but you buy 300 more roses than you really needed, I don't even think you probably made any money off of that entire wedding at the end of the day, right? This is why it matters. And we work too hard to not get paid. I don't think anybody here thinks they don't deserve to get paid. Do you love your job so much that you don't need to get paid? Like, very rarely. Very, very rarely. not going to say never, though, because I'd be lying. This is why I want you to plan for profit. It's really just what it comes down to. It's not greedy to have a profit. If you want to serve your customers, you got to stay in business. They'll be more disappointed if you're gone, right? One of my favorite questions to ask when you're really thinking about, like, what are you really doing in your business? How are you really showing up in the community? Would they miss you if you're gone? Would they miss you if you're gone? And if they would, you got to charge them and make money, or else you're going to let them down later. Hope you'll buy that line, because I think it's true. You want to include all those pieces of your pricing pie, okay? Make sure you're doing the flower math formulas. Make sure you're doing your formulas, following your cheat sheets to keep your profit margins high. Create recipes particularly for events, but also for every day. When I worked in shops where we had these gigantic books you could flip through for hours, there are recipes in the back. And you priced them yourself. And then you put the sticker on that said what it cost, starting at, okay? Order from your wholesalers with confidence, knowing that you're gonna make money. Don't overbuy. Get paid more for your time and talent. You deserve it. If your design fee is 30% and it's been that way for a long time, why not go to 35? It is such a small difference, your customers will never know. But set those profit goals. That's really what it comes down to. And again, the only way that you can really maximize your income is to maximize the margin. Don't throw the money down the drain. You work too hard. I teach this because I do it, and my students do it. In fact, I should have my student teach me how she made her 84% profit margin, right? If people can do this, you can do it. I know that you can. So track those profits. I want to really, even if you have a system, right, that tells you, make sure you're really looking at the sale, what you specifically bought. Make sure you're maximizing that margin. You can track it on weddings, it's very easy, but do it on weekly sales too. And yes, I know in shops it's harder because you do have to buy on spec. You have to buy more than just for an event. There are still ways that you can manage that by being more conservative with the recipes and the varieties. You don't need to have every single flower that your wholesaler has this week. Sorry, wholesalers, you didn't hear that. And just aim for that profit goal every time. Don't go in to the wholesaler, I have to spend 30%. You don't owe it to your customer to spend a certain amount. If there's something on sale that week, you get that extra margin. You got a good price, you get an extra profit. And again, if you need any help on this, I do have a course called Flower Math that helps you with it. It's never too late to get your numbers straight. Even if you're like, oh, I've been doing this for a long time, it's all right. It might be a much smaller shift in mindset or pricing than you really actually think, okay? And I set up a link for everybody at learn.realflowerbusiness.com/March. I have a discount if anybody wants discounts on any of my courses. I'm giving you 20% off till the end of the month, actually. You don't even have to go and do it today. But the idea is you want to stay profitable so you can do beautiful work. And the doing the beautiful work piece is really important, because if we're not doing beautiful work and we're marking it up real high, we're not going to sell it, okay? So it's a fine balance on all these things. I'm going to show you when the rubber meets the road, when I'm making an arrangement, I'm following a recipe, right? So I made this in the boot camp the other day. We're following a recipe, trying to hit a price point. We didn't just fill it up to make it gorgeous, but no one would ever be able to afford it, okay? And I did that on purpose, because could I have made this with stunning orchids and, yes, absolutely. But that's not really what most people are gonna be able to afford from your shop most of the time. And we wanna make sure that we are making saleable things for our clients and breaking ranunculus right in front of your face. But every single piece of this bouquet needs to be accounted for. So what went into making this bouquet? Well, I had to sit down and do recipes. If it's a real wedding, I had to have multiple conversations, I had to look at inspiration boards, I had to share photos. Do I deserve to be paid for that? That's why that profit margin has to be as high as possible. And when it is, then we feel like we're being compensated for our time. All right, so once I have done all of my recipes, I'm gonna pull the flowers that are the most important, particularly for weddings. Maybe it's for a funeral. You're gonna pull the most important precious flowers for the most important pieces. Make sure you fill that recipe to value. But here's the thing. If we know we've bought properly, it's okay to improvise once you get it back to your shop. It's okay if while you're making the bouquet you decide, you know what, these actually, it's full enough, it's big enough, I can't even fit my hands around this anymore. I don't need to keep adding flowers just because it's in the recipe. But I can put those flowers somewhere else. The cocktail arrangements, a centerpiece. You can wheel and deal within your own events as long as you're not overfilling and giving things away. So the other day we made a hand-tied bouquet in my class, and I know there have been a few hand-tied bouquet workshops going on around here. I always like to start with a focal flower, something, usually a rose, something that's a little spray-like, usually a spray rose, but something that's a little bit smaller. So for example, I don't start with 2 big roses unless I absolutely have to. After I start with my first 2 flowers, I twist once I add the third. And every time that I add a flower, I twist. It's just that simple. But my recipe has a few ingredients that are kind of consistent. I've got a few different focal flowers. I've got some little flirty, dancy flowers. It's nice to have some line flowers. You might have something with a little bit of greenery. But you can't necessarily give your client every single flower that they want. So what happens when they say, oh, I would love to have peonies in my September bouquet? Well, maybe you can, but probably not. But what I can do is, instead of promising you specific things, get an idea of your look, right? What is the style that you like? What are the colors that you like? And as long as our recipe is reflecting those things, they're going to be happy. It doesn't have to be a peony. You know, the one we were picking on in a workshop the other day was, what about anemones? You know, they want the anemones. I can never promise an anemone, because sometimes they've already been dusted with their own black pollen and they look not good. Sometimes that white anemone has red on every single petal. Thank you, yeah. That's the worst, right? We want to have variety. We want to have different shape and texture. But at the end of the day, it's really just about making sure that while you're filling to value, you're not giving away the bank. You're not giving away your profit. You're not going home unpaid. I was saying this the other day, there are so many florists that I talk to that don't pay themselves after many years in business. Not just their first year, not just their first 3 years. Maybe they live off of profits in the shop, and that's a whole nother conversation. But you got to pay yourself. You have a business, not a hobby. All right, what questions do people have? Yeah?
As a studio wedding, primarily florist, as yourself,
Yeah.
I often had my floral order about 10% for breakage or incidental.
Don't go breaking my heart. 10%? But do you charge them that?
No. And then I have extra flowers in case, well, sometimes they come in broken, like the ranunculus, and they can't be used anywhere. They're moldy.
Is your wholesaler far away?
No.
Okay. Why don't you stop doing that? I'll tell you this, people ask me all the time, how much extra do you order? I don't order any extra. There are always some extra. I might order 70 stems of stock, but I need 63 of them. There's extra. I didn't need to add extra. There's extra. This is,
Charging for the 70 stems or the 63?
well, that's a great question. Because I did my recipes, right, the profit margin is there as long as I don't have, let's just say, 7 extra on everything. So that's what I was going to say. One of my favorite tools that works seamlessly with my flower math course, actually, it's called Every Stem. And it's just a way to do recipes. And it's very affordable monthly fee. And what it does is it tells you how many extra you have. So when I look at each line, I can see, oh, I have 22 extra white roses. 22 extra white roses is a lot of extra roses. So what I'll do is order one fewer bunch and find something that I can steal roses out of. I don't need roses in those cocktail arrangements. I could put something else in there. So when we do 10%, that is a huge bite, it really is, of your money. So I know that people get worried, but again, I talk to people who their wholesaler is 3 hours away. I a little bit get that, that's a little hard. But how far away is your wholesaler?
Half hour.
Mine too. Pain in the butt, but close enough. It is, I totally get it, it can be a pain in the butt. But you know what I would rather see you do? Follow some recipes, only order what you need. Track what the extras are, whether you use that Every Stem app or not. I always would see how many extra of anything I had, because you will always, you're never gonna be everything came out to exactly 10 stems, I'm amazing. There'll always be a few extras, but we don't wanna end up with so many extras that the profit margin is 65%, or that the profit margin starts to go down to 50%. I shared this the other day in the boot camp, but I have a floral designer I spoke with who, it breaks my heart because she bought flower math, but she didn't do it. And she has this hotel account. She's in a really, really high-end, she's in Salt Lake City, and she works at a really high-end, 5-star hotel or whatever. They have to have flowers in the lobby or you're not allowed to be the 5-star hotel. I didn't even fully know that. That's a rule. So they spend $4,000 a month with her on flowers. How much would you love to have that account? I would. But guess how much she spends? $500 a week. Thank you for the audible gasp. That is how I feel as well. So she's making a 50% profit margin. She's been doing this account for 5 years. She's lost about $48,000 in profit. Do you think she pays herself? Take a guess. Take a guess. Who thinks she pays herself? She doesn't. She doesn't. She has a $4,000 a month hotel account. Doesn't pay herself. Because she gave away the profit margin. Because she was just charging 50%, and that's it. So, we don't want that to happen. That's a lot of money, right? This is why I do it over time, because it's a lot of money. I did that math on my own business. I've been in business for 24 years. If I'd been losing that much money, I'd be 240 grand in the hole right now. $240,000 that I would have paid myself if that were my business. I don't want to be like that. So when we're designing, we might order for a wedding, and we might have some extras. We might have stuff that's wilty and dead. That happens. But much like Sam was saying yesterday, for some of us who were here in the morning, there's a shared risk with the wholesaler, right? You're ordering from the wholesaler, they're ordering. Sometimes there's going to be some stems that don't come in right. There's a shared risk. Same thing with our customer. Yes, we are going to deliver you something beautiful, but just because my math says that this should have 7 ranunculus in it, if I only have 6 that are usable, I'm not going to go to my wholesaler to get 10 more to give them that 1. They're going to be fine. They're going to live without that ranunculus. We can adapt. Again, you don't owe it to your customer to spend a certain amount of money in order to make their order filled to value. And when you're delivering a good brand experience, you are meeting their expectations all along the way. They had a great conversation with the person who answered the phone, or your website was really user-friendly because you followed some of my tips yesterday, and so they bought really quickly and easily, and they loved it. They bought really quickly and easily, and then you followed up to ask a question to clarify, and they couldn't believe what great customer service that was. They're more prepared to be happy with what you deliver when you're meeting expectations all along the way. And that's what we want to do. We want to stay profitable, we want to be reputable, and we want to deliver what the client expects. But we're not giving stem counts. Sometimes people will say, oh, here's my proposal. It takes me forever because I have to do the recipe. They haven't booked you yet. They haven't given you money. They might not choose you. You got to just have some starting prices. What does your bouquet start at? What does your centerpiece start at? What does your funeral easel that has been transformed into an awesome centerpiece start at? You guys know those are funeral easels they changed into centerpieces behind you there? Yes, I know. Very cool. But what does that cost, right? We want to make sure we have a starting price, but we don't need to do a recipe. By the way, something like that doesn't cost that much, but the visual value is pretty high. Something like that 3 to 4 times markup is not going to get you where you want to go, but that's all labor. That's why I don't want you just doing a straight markup 4 times and saying it includes labor. Sometimes the labor should be higher. That would be a 50% labor or more. Everything isn't just a, one and done when it comes to pricing. One markup is not going to be what makes you profitable. It's really about all of the pieces coming together, understanding that you want to be paid for your time, your talent, the work you put in before you even designed. That's what you're getting paid for. So don't feel guilty charging what you're worth. And while we're at it, as I cut my bouquet, we got to charge for everything. We got to charge for the ribbon. We got to charge for, I love these little flower boxes for weddings particularly. We got to charge for the flower box. Because if I'm charging for all of this, but I forget that this was maybe $5 total with shipping, I'm losing. That's where little things, little leaks, okay? So we don't want anything leaking. We want to make sure that we're staying profitable. What other questions do people have on any of this? Anything? Yeah?
We do more retail stuff, so people are coming in ordering the same arrangement consistently.
Yeah.
So what would you recommend doing then for a arrangement that you have a recipe for, but let's say it has pops, and the pops that come in are like 3 flowers on the stem, whereas thank you. This is, embarrassing. But sometimes you have like pomps come in and they have like 3 flower heads on the stem and they're not as full as you're expecting. And if you're making an arrangement that doesn't have a lot of flowers to begin with in it that really shows, would you recommend doing then a little extra in the pricing to begin with to apply for workarounds so that you can add an extra one from the beginning?
Yes.
Okay.
That's great. I love how you just answered your own question.
I don't know.
No, yeah, exactly. Because if we're so tight that if one little thing goes wrong, this whole thing doesn't work, it's a little too tight. Yeah.
Okay.
Great question.
Yeah, thank you.
And great answer.
Yeah, a little bit related, but we have issues with the wire orders, the ones that are standard. It's like, I don't know, they found a perfect, every spray rose has like 10 blooms on it or something.
Oh, of course.
And we're like, we can't send it out like that.
Right.
Not so much the deluxe and superior, but the standards.
Well, I don't really know how to address that without really addressing it. Because the truth is, yeah, it's a little bit deceptive. There is no spray rose that has, like when I'm ordering, I assume that my spray rose has 3 to 4 flowers, right? So like if I'm doing boutonnieres and I know I need spray roses, I'm not like, and I have 5 boutonnieres, so I need 1 stem of spray roses because that will give me 10 buds. Never in my life, I've been a florist for 32 years, have I really ever been able to plan on that. Although as I stand here with this guy who's got, what, 6 or something, 7, you know, that's where it's just really, really hard because when you're set up that this is doable when it's not, you're kind of swimming upstream with that because now you have to put in 2 for their 1. And that's really what it comes down to. So the only way to do that is to up the price where this is really a 2 spray rose arrangement, not 1. I know I'm so terrible with my real facts about it, but it's not a great easy answer, but it's really the only way to do it. Like when we would do, I worked at a shop that had FTD, Teleflora, 1-800-Flowers. I was like the Mercury Queen. I was, you know, sending out orders like it was my job. Oh wait, it was. But yeah, I mean, we got so many orders, right? The birthday mug, the cake. Do they still have that? The cake with the mums? Oh my God. Anyway, those things aren't necessarily profitable when it's taking so much time and nobody really knows how to do it. And then it actually doesn't look like a cake. It kind of looks like one of those fail cakes from, well, I forget the name of that show. But anyway, you know, that's what it really comes down to. Like, you can't deliver on something you didn't promise. I think that's what's happening. You didn't say you can do this at this price, they did. And I think a lot of people here can kind of relate to that. Does that answer your question at all, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to know that, yeah, it is, those regulars are like,
Yeah, like 3 to 4 flowers on a spray rose is what I expect. Usually it's 5, but you can't count on it.
Alison, we're branching out into hosting workshops, things like that. Even when we're doing our event setups and stuff, how do we wrap our head around how to charge for the labor of these events? I mean, we know how to charge for the flowers, but how do we, is there a formula? What should we be, what are our parameters, I guess?
Workshops are really tricky because they're not always as profitable as you want them to be. A lot of times workshops are a labor of love. I think florists who are being honest would have to agree with that because you're charging for the flowers, maybe the time, but it's hard to get your full markup. Like you can't charge your full markup and design fee when they're designing it, right? Like, again, can we get a collective no duh? They're doing the designing, so there's no design fee there. So I would still figure out, so when I have done this before, I've done it to varying degrees of success. You need a certain amount of students to sign up. It's the same thing of setting that profit goal. How many students need to sign up at X price if I do this recipe in order for us to make $75 an hour each or $150 an hour each or whatever it is, or $25, like whatever feels reasonable to you. Because with workshops, it's different than the retail stuff. The workshop is a community experience. It's a marketing experience. It's a whole nother ball game. So it's a good question. But it's one of those things that falls into the choose your own adventure category, just like delivery, right? Choose your own adventure, how you charge for that. But for me, when I did, so like I had a country club by me reach out to do some workshops. The first one was great because we had a lot of people sign up. The second one, we only had 3 people sign up because people were still like in Florida, right? Because I'm in Vermont. So people were not in town. So it just didn't get as well attended. It wasn't profitable for the country club. I still set my minimum of what I needed to get paid in order to show up because I have to do the orders. I have to, get ready. I have to go get the flowers. I have to prep them. I have to come. I have to spend hours. I have to schlep. That costs money. Have I ever taught a workshop and felt like I made bank? No. But that's not like what the heart of it is, I think, and that's part of it. But you should still make money. You're not doing it for free.
Are you doing them in your space? Are you doing the workshop in your space, or are you like a pop-up where you're doing them in other
We're currently doing about one workshop a month in our space, Currently, we're about one workshop a month in our space, but then we're also offering private parties, whether we do a DIY bar or a full hands-on private party experience. So, no, that can be remote. So we do have additional fees for remote setup if we do it in your home, like you're doing a bridal shower or something, and we set it up in your home.
Nice.
Look at it like your workshop is your event, as if you were paying to do an event somewhere else. Build that in along with the labor and the time. And yeah, still not a huge moneymaker, but if you're looking at it as an opportunity to maybe bring people from the community into your shop who maybe normally wouldn't foot traffic, then it's like kind of doubling as marketing for your brand.
And then maybe you have a successful workshop, and then the next one is even more well attended, right? It's all about the numbers at a certain point and finding that sweet spot. So yeah, I'm excited to see how that works out for you, because it is about finding that minimum. Just like anything else in your shop, and I'm going to wrap this because we have like a million amazing arrangements back there that are going to be on the stage. They're going to blow your mind. We need to have a minimum that we start with, or a starting price. So whether it is on funeral pieces, wedding pieces, everyday arrangements, cocktail arrangements, or your workshop, what's the base I need to make this profitable? Does this feel doable for people? Do you feel like you know that you deserve to make money and that you can capture it? All right, I see it. I just need one head shake to feel like the whole room's with me, so thank you. Thank you guys so much, and enjoy the rest of the day. I'll be here all day if you have questions or anything. I'm going to be just absorbing all the great stuff on the stage. So thank you guys. Go forth and be profitable. Keep doing beautiful work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think we were so lucky to have you this week.